What's going on, guys? JayzTwoCents here, and today we're going to talk about a topic that I've been asked to do a lot of, but I never really thought made for a good video, but because there's so many requests for it, I decided we'll go ahead and do it. And that's going to be my opinion on purchasing used hardware in order to try and get better parts for cheaper to ultimately get the most out of your money when it comes to building your systems. The new Z170 classified motherboard from EVGA features 8-phase PWM, 4-way SLI support, along with top-notch components to offer gamers and enthusiasts more of what they want. A badass motherboard with no compromises. Click the link below to learn more. Building new computers is fun, and it's fun to have brand new off-the-shelf parts, and I'm not gonna lie when I say that getting that brand new computer smell or new motherboard or new graphics card for even that matter is fun to open it up and unbox it. And it gives you a nice rush when it comes to unboxing brand new stuff. Now this might actually surprise a lot of people, but until I started doing YouTube and then the channel grew and I started getting parts accumulating around here for review that I could eventually build a complete system out of, I had never built a completely brand new out-of-the-box PC without using something used within the system. I just never could afford that. So maybe this is a good video topic for me to talk about because I have experience with doing a lot of forum browsing and a lot of online classified ads in buying used parts, and I think I have something to offer to the discussion when it comes to buying new or used. I think very few people in this world are lucky enough to own brand new everything. I mean, when it comes to cars or furniture or houses, computer parts, TVs, stereos, I think a lot of people spend time browsing on Craigslist or forums trying to find the best deal for lightly or gently used product. I mean, if you were the kind of person that needed new everything, then when it comes to your dating prospects, it would be a very small ocean of fish to choose from. Today we're going to specifically talk about used graphics cards, but it really will apply to any component inside your system. Now, used graphics cards freaks a lot of people out because everyone knows they're so easy to overclock, and people are very afraid that overclocking is going to make the longevity and lifespan of this card really fall through the floor, where you're going to buy it and 2 weeks later it's going to die on you. Now, I don't know exactly how much life you could really cut off of this thing, and I don't think there would be any conclusive data and even a controlled environment to tell you exactly how much life you cut off of a graphics card by overclocking it for either shorter period of time or long periods of time. But I will tell you this, that I did own an Intel Core 2 Duo 1.86 gigahertz E6300 CPU that I overclocked to 3.42 gigahertz for an 80% overclock. Actually, it's like 79.5, I'm gonna round up. 80% overclock that I ran for 7 years at that overclock. And that was not a turbo clock. It ran 3.42 constantly the moment the PC booted to the moment the PC turned off. There was no throttling in there whatsoever, no turbo boost or turbo clock. It just ran it balls to the wall the entire time. 7 years. And what ultimately ended up dying was not the chip, it was the motherboard. And it died due to physical damage, not to any sort of degradation. Now that doesn't mean that the graphics card is not going to experience degradation, it's going to. But chances are the graphics card itself, as long as it's overclocked through stock BIOS of something, like through MSI Afterburner or Precision or OC Guru or whatever app that you would use, usually the amount of life that you're shaving off the bottom of the card is going to really be negligible when it comes to the fact that the card will probably become obsolete and not be able to run your favorite games at graphics frame rates that you want. That's gonna happen long before this is gonna die due to overclocking. So I'm personally of the mindset that buying used product, if you know where it's coming from and you trust the buyer, is not necessarily a bad thing. Now there are some things that you can do to remove some of the risk, because when you buy a used product, there's risk involved no matter what. You can't get away from that. And you can't say that this card dying 2 months after you got it, as long as it worked when you got it, meant that the buyer knew it was going to break. That's usually not the case. Now, if you're gonna buy used products from a forum, make sure you check their feedback. Also too, if you're buying from a forum, make sure you look at how long they've been on that forum. A lot of people will sign up on forums simply to sell their stuff. They have no posting history, they have no trustworthiness, they have no established presence within that forum. That's someone that I would probably stay away from. And if they say something like, oh, it's also for sale on this forum, go and check their trustworthiness over on that forum as well as any feedback that they might have. Now, Craigslist, I don't buy PC parts off of Craigslist. Never have, never will. I have no idea where it's come from. There's no documented history whatsoever, and there's no feedback system for Craigslist. Also, who knows if it's stolen? I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. You really aren't going to be able to know if something's stolen until you get your hands on it and then check the serial number with the vendor. Half the time, even they won't know because a lot of people don't register their stuff. That kind of leads me into the next section of buying used hardware is it still within warranty and is it registered? Back in the day, a lot of companies did not transfer the warranty, which I thought was really shitty amongst the manufacturers, where that was really a cop-out for them to be able to say, oh, you're not the person who bought it, therefore we're not gonna warranty it. What's it matter? This is what you're warrantying, not the owner. So why wouldn't this transfer? Well, a lot of companies have really started to do away with that now, where the item is warranted for a specific date from purchase. Now, if you don't have a purchase receipt, a lot of times they will just automatically go back to the release date of the product. And if you're within that 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, whatever, the release date, a lot of times they'll still honor it. But I would also stay away from any brands that do not honor transferred warranties for used products. I honestly think buying used is a good thing. You can quite honestly increase your performance by lowering the amount of money you're spending, or at the very least, get more performance for the same amount if you can buy components that are used and that you trust. Obviously, CPUs, motherboards, and graphics cards are gonna be the most expensive bulks of your system, and you can get some pretty good deals usually from very trustworthy people on the forums. So in order to reduce the amount of risk of you getting a bad piece of hardware when buying used, I would maybe ask the seller these questions. One, did they buy it new or used? Are you gonna be the second owner or third owner, or even more than that? How many times has it traded hands? If they bought it new, do they still have the receipt for where they bought it from? If they have the receipt, that's like getting receipts for work done on buying a used car. The manufacturer can use that as well to validate, that the thing was purchased legitimately. Does it still have a warranty? And is the warranty transferable, like we just talked about? Did they overclock the card? Not that it's going to really increase your risk too much when it comes to whether or not the card is potentially going to die on you in the future. You at least will get some idea, one, of how far it overclocks, because often they'll tell you, yeah, I got this overclock at this voltage. Now, I'm personally not turned away by hardware that's been overclocked. In fact, it often gives you an idea of how far you can push the thing, especially if you were looking at overclocking it yourself. In fact, back in the day on Hardform, there was a guy who sold a used i5 2500K for more than retail because he had proof through Prime 95 and stability testing screenshots that the thing was stable at 5 gigahertz at low voltage, and people were all over that. So sometimes the overclockability is a selling point. Last but not least, ask them why they are selling it. Hopefully they'll be honest. Hopefully they're not trying to sell something that's unstable or has a terrible overclock. Sometimes they'll just say, I'm just not using it, or I upgraded my system. If they have proof of the upgrade, then you can believe them. But sometimes people will buy something, find out it's a terrible overclocker, and then rather than do the shady method of returning it to the store or RMAing it, which is really kind of shady when you return something because it doesn't overclock as far as you wanted it, they'll just go and sell it used, take a loss on the forums, and try again. And then you're stuck with something that may not overclock well when you were kind of hoping that that would be the case. Now, motherboards, specifically when buying used, request a picture of the socket. If it's an AMD socket, it's not going to be a huge deal, but if it's Intel, request a picture of the socket to make sure that there are no bent pins. Bent pins on a socket is usually a death sentence for an Intel motherboard. But buying used hardware is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, that's why Scrapyard Wars over on Linus Tech Tips I think is so popular, is because it really touches base or hits home with a lot of buyers who would be doing like the exact same thing, trying to source used hardware to get a good deal. Now, a couple years ago, I said I wanted to do like an eBay build or see what I could come up with for a set amount of money and buy used stuff. Obviously, Scrapyard Wars beat me to that. Maybe I'll do this in the future, not as a competition, which is what Scrapyard Wars is, but I just would set myself like, let's say $700 or something like that, buy the product off of forums, kind of vlog where I'm looking and how the sales are going, and then put the system together, benchmark it, and then, I don't know, do something with the system like give it away or whatever. I'll probably end up doing something like that in the future. But for now, if you guys are looking at buying used hardware, just keep those tips in mind that I just gave you, and usually you'll come out on top at the end. The hardest part is finding the right price. Some people discount it only a little bit for being used. Some people want to move the product quickly because they need the money to offset a new build. And now you can sometimes find an amazing deal. For instance, you can get a 780 Ti now for about $220 on forums. A 780 Ti for $220 is going to beat anything new you could get today, and just smack it around the ring like it's John Cena or some shit like that for that amount of money. There's nothing you could buy today for $220 that's new, that's going to keep paces with the 780 Ti, period. All right, guys, I hope this video has helped you. You guys wanted my opinion on used product. This is it. No fancy editing, no transitions or B-roll, just kind of having a conversation with you guys. So it's the weekend, I'm gonna get out of here. I got some videos to get together. We just found out that a friend of ours is gone into labor out in Arizona, so I might be taking a little leave of absence for a little bit while we go visit a new family. So anyway, guys, time to get out of here. See you on social media, and if not, we'll see you in the next video. And as always, thanks for watching.